You're not family, just a wallet. My dad said when I asked why I wasn't invited to my niece's birthday. My brother chimed in, "You're too bitter to be around kids anyway." So I quietly canceled the monthly transfers, pulled the plug on their streaming, and locked the family car I'd been paying off. The party still happened, but so did the repo truck right in the driveway. You even notice how every family has that one person who always seems to be the one holding things together. That was me. My name's Eric. I'm 34, and if you ask my family to describe me, they'd say I'm the responsible one. But let's be real, what they really mean is I'm the one who fixes everything. When there's a midnight call about a leaky pipe at my parents' house, who do they call? Me. My brother Jason can't pay for a car repair. I'm suddenly listed as the cosigner on a loan I never knew about. When my niece Emma needed school supplies, birthday gifts, a new tablet, you know whose phone would light up with friendly reminders and Amazon links? Yep, mine. But you know what's funny? Not once did anyone ask how I was holding up. I could skip a meal to make sure the electric bill got paid, but not a single person noticed. Yet the second the Wi Fi was down, suddenly I'm everyone's favorite topic in the group chat. If my phone buzzed, odds were it was about a bill, an account, or some emergency I was expected to solve. I didn't hate this role at first. I thought that's what family does, right? If you can help, you help. And Emma, she's just a sweet, funny kid. I always wanted her to have what she needed. But after years and years of being treated like a credit card with legs, well, the thank yous started to disappear. They dried up, the requests got bigger, and they stopped pretending to be embarrassed about it. My mom would hand me envelopes already labeled power bill, water. "We figured it'd be easier for you," she'd say. My dad would grumble, "You know you make more than your brother, right?" As if that settled everything. Meanwhile, Jason's biggest worry seemed to be whether his latest batch of vacation photos got enough likes. I'd see his posts, beaches, ski trips, Airbnbs with captions like, "Family first, so grateful for the ones who matter." Of course, I was never in those pictures, never invited on those trips. And honestly, I'd kind of gotten used to it. It was just how things were. But here's where things get interesting. My breaking point, it didn't come from a sudden big bill or some massive argument. No. What finally snapped, everything wasn't about money at all. It was about honesty, raw, brutal honesty that caught me off guard. And man, it hit harder than anything else ever could. Here's the thing about being the family wallet. It's not one big moment. It's a thousand little moments so small you almost miss when things go too far. For me, it started with simple stuff. An emergency here, last minute ask there. But before I knew it, my life revolved around making sure everyone else's problems were solved. My parents, my brother, sometimes even his friends, they'd always find a way to send things my way. Let's talk numbers. Every single month, I was automatically transferring $400 to my parents' account. It was supposed to be for emergencies, but the emergencies never actually stopped. Sometimes nothing was broken, and yet the money kept flowing. Then there's Jason and his wife. I'd send $150 monthly, originally because Emma needed daycare. But time went on, Emma got older, and I stopped getting any updates. Didn't matter the money, just kept moving from my account to theirs. If I paused and looked at where my money was going, it was almost laughable. I was paying for the Spotify family plan for everyone but me, since I usually forgot it was even there, Netflix, a Hulu bundle, Amazon Prime, iCloud storage since 2018, and probably something else I don't remember. The kicker? I barely used half of these services, but heaven help me if I tried to take them back. I'd get 5 texts in an hour. Is Spotify broken? Hulu isn't working. Can you check it? It sounds petty, but it wasn't about the streaming. It was about being depended on for everything and getting nothing in return. But it didn't stop at subscriptions. Let's talk about cars. You know that feeling when you realize you're on the hook for something you didn't even want? That was me with Jason's SUV. The lease? In my name. Payments? Pulled right from my account. Every single month. Also, Jason could have a shiny ride for family trips I never got invited to, or so his wife could brag about his generosity on social media. I brought it up to him once. His response? You're good for it. You'll get some sort of tax write off, right? And because I was so used to that dynamic, I laughed along with him, wishing I didn't feel like such a fool. If you ask my family, they'd probably tell you I'm a workaholic, always working, always busy, never at the party, never able to relax. Maybe they're right. But honestly, what could I do? If I stopped bailing them out, everything fell apart. And the thing is, it was never about the money, not really. It was that underneath all the paying and patching and being responsible, I was invisible. I was functional, not family. The safety net everyone forgot about until it disappeared. And the more I think about it, the more I realize I was training them to see me this way. Generosity became expectation, kindness became obligation, the line blurred, and soon even I forgot there was supposed to be one. But that's how it always goes, right? One day you're just helping with a little thing. Next thing you know, your entire paycheck's going to people who don't even say thanks. It's so slow, you don't notice how tired you are, how used up you feel, how much you want someone just once to see you as more than a source of cash, more than a backup plan for when things go wrong. And then, well, you won't believe what happened next because all it took was one casual conversation, one offhand comment to finally make me see what I was really worth to them. It was a random Tuesday when everything changed. I was at work, sipping cold coffee and watching my inbox multiply when I saw my sister in law post about Emma's big birthday party, princess theme, backyard games, the works a real to do. But here's the thing, I hadn't heard a word about it. No invite, no text. And I figured maybe the invite got lost somewhere. These things happen, right? So I called mom, half expecting her to laugh it off and tell me, "Of course you're invited." But when she picked up, her voice was weirdly tense. I asked, casual as possible, "Hey, what's the plan for Emma's party this Saturday? Just want to know what to bring." There was this long, heavy pause, long enough for my heart to start hammering in my chest. Then she said, real soft, "Eric, this one is just for close family. That's all. Close family." I even repeated it back, thinking she hadn't realized what she said. But she didn't backtrack. Then came Daddy, just took the phone from her, like he'd been waiting for this moment. His voice, totally flat, like he was talking to a stranger about a warranty claim. "You're not really part of things anymore, Eric. You're not family. You're just a wallet. You help out, and that's appreciated, but you're always working, always tense. You're not great with kids anyway." I wish I'd had something clever to say back right then, but honestly, my brain just shut down. I was so stunned, so blindsided, I couldn't even put together a reply. And right then, in the background, I heard Jason, my brother, jump in, just loud enough to make sure I caught it. "You're too bitter to be around kids, man. Don't ruin the vibe." That was it. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not a dramatic explosion, more like a guitar string finally snapping after being tuned too tight. For too long, I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, just staring at my laptop's blinking cursor. None of them sounded sorry, embarrassed, or even hesitant. They were just done pretending I was anything but the family's financial backup plan. I hung up after mumbling, "Okay," no fight, no yelling, just a heavy final sort of silence. And for the first time in ages, I didn't feel angry or hurt. All those usual emotions just flattened out. I felt nothing, still, and in that stillness, a little ember of clarity sparked to life. That night, I grabbed a notebook and started making a list. It wasn't rage fueled revenge, it was just honest. Every dollar leaving my bank, every login shared, every invisible rope tying me to people who seemed to actively not want me around unless there was a need. The emergency money, the daycare payments, the streaming subscriptions, the car Jason drove, the house I quietly saved. Looking at all those numbers, all those obligations, it hit me. If I disappeared tomorrow, my family would only realize it when the payments stopped, not my presence, my money. That was the night I finally decided to stop being the family wallet for good. The morning after that phone call, I woke up feeling strange, almost lighter, like I'd finally set down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty, not even a bit, because it was time to draw a line in the sand, whether they liked it or not. So I got to work. First, I logged into the bank and paused the monthly transfers to my parents. Next, I stopped the $150 to Jason and his wife. Gone. I opened every streaming account, Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, iCloud, and locked them all down. Changed passwords, revoked family sharing, canceled the family plans. Then I called the leasing company about Jason's SUV, just to ask what happens when the registered driver isn't the primary leaseholder, or if the account holder no longer has possession. Turns out they take that stuff real seriously, especially if the car is parked somewhere else and the payments stop. I didn't do any of this out of rage. I wasn't sabotaging anyone. All I wanted was my peace and to finally stop giving everything to people who barely saw me as human. But as you'd expect, the fallout came fast. Just before noon, while Emma's party was probably kicking into full gear, Jason texted, "Hey bro, Netflix down. Can you fix?" 15 minutes later, "Spotify not working either. Mom says Hulu's gone." I didn't reply. I just let the silence grow. Then Mom texted, "Eric, issue with a bank transfer. Can you check?" Still nothing from me. The cherry on top, at 2:17 p.m., during the middle of the party, Jason texts, "The car won't unlock. Bank message on the dash. Can you look into this?" I finally smiled. I could just imagine him, party in full swing, balloons everywhere, folding tables in the yard, kids running in princess dresses, clicking the remote over and over. My dad probably red-faced on hold with customer service. Mom grumbling that Eric always does this when he's feeling dramatic, right as a tow truck eased up the driveway. It wasn't a grand scene, just a slow roll, clipboard, hook, SUV inching away while Jason pleaded. My name was on every document. It was my right. And the real kicker? They still thought it was a mistake. They couldn't understand that I'd drawn the line they never thought I would. That was just the beginning. I didn't get any phone calls that day, just a handful of texts as the party went up in smoke. I turned my phone face down and took a walk, enjoying peace for the first time, and I honestly couldn't remember. When I came home, my phone was overflowing. Voicemails, missed calls, angry messages. "You ruined Emma's birthday. What are you thinking?" Not one of them asked why. They just wanted everything switched back on. But this time, I let the silence do the talking. For the first time, I wasn't going to pick up the pieces. The days following the party felt like stepping into a strange new world. The flood of calls and messages didn't stop, but I didn't answer a single one. Jason showed up at my apartment unannounced one Wednesday evening, pounding on my door loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I wasn't sure how he even found my new place. I hadn't shared the address with anyone in the family. Maybe Mom slipped, or maybe he snooped. Either way, I wasn't about to let him in without a fight. When I cracked open the door just enough to block his way, he was red-faced, his eyes bloodshot, his shirt stained from what looked like frosting or juice. He was gripping his phone tightly, like he wanted to throw it at something. "Seriously, man? You're going to do this? You ruined Emma's birthday, a 7-year-old's birthday. You think that's okay?" I just looked at him, no words. He stayed flustered for a moment before lowering his voice. "She asked why Uncle Eric didn't come, why her present wasn't there, why the car was gone. You couldn't just say something." I folded my arms and told him, "I did say something. I asked why I wasn't invited. Remember what Dad said? You're not family." And you backed him up. Jason rolled his eyes and laughed bitterly. "That was a joke." "No, it wasn't," I said sharply. His eyes flicked away, and he fell silent for a moment. Then softly he muttered, "You know what? I didn't cancel anything out of spite. I just stopped funding a family that doesn't want me in it." "You think that's how family works?" he muttered back, more to himself than me. I was quiet for a few beats. Then quietly I said, "You're right. It's not family that's love. But it is how bills work, and those bills are in my name." Jason didn't have a comeback for that. Instead, he just stood there, boiling quietly. I told him he should go before he said something he'd regret. He hesitated, opened his mouth, shut it again, and stomped down the stairs without another word. For a moment, I stood in the doorway, watching him disappear into the street. You'd think I'd feel victorious after all, that like I'd won some long battle. But no, what I felt was tired, worn out, like I'd been holding up a collapsing ceiling, and even after stepping away, I could still feel the weight in my bones. Later that weekend came an email from Mom. No apology, no ownership, just guilt dripping from every line. Emma cried because I wasn't there. Money isn't everything. I should remember what really matters. And of course, we raised you better than this. The part that stung the most: family is forever, even when they disappoint you. I stared at that sentence over and over. Family is forever, even when they disappoint you. But here's the truth I sent back. You didn't raise me. You used me. And after that, I blocked her name, but it wasn't over. You see, 5 years ago, when my parents were on the brink of foreclosure, I stepped in, quietly, anonymously. Everyone thought Jason negotiated a better deal with the bank, but the reality, I bought the house under a trust. They've been living there rent-free ever since, with me quietly covering repairs no one thanked me for. It was never about holding it over them. I didn't want to use it as leverage. But when they told me, "You're not family," I realized something had to change. So I called my lawyer, asked a few questions, and had eviction papers drawn up. The folder sits on my desk, clearly labeled Eviction 30-day notice. I haven't filed them. Not yet. But the message is there. I didn't sleep the night I printed those papers. Not because I doubted what I was doing, but because I couldn't stop thinking about everything. Christmases when I slipped extra cash secretly, only to hear that Jason had worked overtime. Hospital bills from Dad's knee surgery I quietly covered, even though everyone said insurance paid for it. That summer I skipped my vacation just so Emma could go to camp. And after all of it, not one gesture, not one moment, earned me a seat at my niece's birthday party. When morning came, my mind was clear, not calm, but sharp and cold. I made a copy of the eviction notice, put it in a plain white envelope, no return address, nothing but their names printed neatly on the front. David and Margaret Langston. That afternoon I drove across town. The neighborhood hadn't changed since I was a kid. Same creaky mailboxes, overgrown hedges, the wind chimes Mom swore weren't tacky, even though they clanged like rusted pipes. I parked across the street and watched the house. No car in the driveway. Good. Walking up the steps was strange. I knew every board that creaked, every chip in the bricks, the way the front door stuck in humid weather. And yet the house felt foreign. Not because of changes, but because I had changed. I slipped the envelope into the screen door and taped it just above the handle where it couldn't be missed. The wind tugged at the edges as I turned to leave. I didn't look back, but I knew when they'd find it. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts. From Mom, just 5 words. Eric, you wouldn't. Please call. From Jason, are you insane? Mom's crying. Dad's freaking out. You can't actually do this. No apologies, no questions, just panic. After the eviction notice, something shifted. The constant chaos, the texts, the calls, the guilt trips, they slowed down. First, there was a trickle, then nearly silence. No more urgent banking issues, no desperate pleas to fix things. The streaming services stopped working for them one by one, but I didn't hear a word about it. Hulu, HBO Max, Prime, it felt like the last ties fraying away. Strangely, I didn't feel angry during the silence. Not really. I felt peace. The kind of calm you only know when you stop fighting a battle you can't win. I realized I was finally reclaiming something I hadn't had for years: boundaries. Of course, it wasn't easy. There was loneliness in that silence, too. I wasn't waiting for a big apology or a family reunion. I knew that might never come. What I wanted was to be seen for once as a person, not an ATM or a convenience. In the quiet, I started thinking about everything differently, about the price I'd paid for being responsible, about how love shouldn't come with a balance sheet attached, and about how I finally had the right to say no without feeling guilty. The funny thing is, the silence made me realize how much noise there had been before. Noise that wasn't love or connection, but obligation and expectation. And now, with that noise gone, I had space to breathe, to think, and most importantly, to start healing. Some wounds don't heal overnight. Some fractures take time to mend, if they ever do. But in that silence, I knew I was done sacrificing for a family that didn't see me for me. And that in itself was a kind of freedom I hadn't felt in a long time. Then one Sunday evening, exactly 2 weeks after the eviction notice slipped through the door, there was a soft knock at mine. Not a call, not a text, just a knock. When I peeked through the peephole, it wasn't Jason or Mom or Dad. It was Emma holding a homemade cod. Behind her stood Jason, his hands in his pockets, eyes downcast, looking smaller somehow, as if the weight of everything had finally sunk in. Uncle Eric, Emma said softly when I opened the door, I made this for you. I knelt down and took the card. It was pink and glittery with stars, and in that 7-year-old handwriting it said, I'm sorry they were mean. I love you anyway. That moment broke something inside me I didn't realize was still holding on, but I didn't cry at least. Not yet. I looked up at Jason, who just nodded toward the hallway. Can we talk? He asked quietly. No smirks, no demands, just sincere. I stepped back and let them in. Emma sat on the couch, swinging her legs, still clutching the card like it was the most precious thing. Jason stood near the entryway, unsure what to do. He glanced around as if looking for something to criticize the way he always did growing up, pointing out a cracked tile or dusty shelf to assert his smug big brother energy. But he found nothing this time. My apartment was clean, simple, mine. I asked if he wanted something to drink, but he shook his head. We stood silent for a beat before I motioned to the kitchen table. Sit. He hesitated but obeyed, shoulders hunched, hands clasped like he was bracing for a fight. I sat across from him and waited. Finally, he spoke, eyes down. I guess I always thought it was okay that you'd keep paying because we're family, because you never complained. I raised an eyebrow. You mean because I made better choices? He nodded. Yeah, I was a fool. I laughed at how he treated you. Then Emma, humming softly nearby, asked why she couldn't see me anymore. That hit me hard. I thought about the money, the car, the house. Couldn't remember a single thing they'd ever done for me. Not one. Jason admitted he didn't expect forgiveness. He just wanted me to know he was sorry. No arguments, no requests, just truth. He told me about Emma, how she asked why I wasn't in photos anymore. And when he told her I wasn't invited, she said, then forget the cake. It's not a real party without Uncle Eric. That night, looking at her, Jason realized he didn't want her to grow up thinking love was one-sided or conditional. That hit me harder than I expected. Jason said he told Emma everything that we took advantage of me, that it wasn't okay, and he was sorry. Emma smiled at me, walked over, and said, I miss you. My voice caught. I miss you too, kiddo. She hugged me without prompting, just pure honest affection. Then she pulled a small, slightly bent, pink, sparkly crown from her bag. I saved this for you, she said. I placed it gently on the table like it was delicate glass and thanked her. Jason stood. We'll go now. I'm not here to beg. I just wanted you to know. He paused at the door. If you ever want to talk again, I'm here. If not, I get it. And with that, they left. After they left, I sat there with that little pink crown on the table, letting the room settle into a kind of quiet I hadn't known I needed. I wasn't sure what to feel exactly, relief, sadness, hope, all tangled up together. But what I did know is this: I loved Emma. Always had, always would. That wasn't going away. But what had gone away was the illusion that love meant being used, taken for granted, or forgotten when there wasn't something to be gained. For years, I'd carried this weight of responsibility like it was my cross to bear. I thought if I just gave enough, if I just worked hard enough, if I just kept paying the bills and fixing the problems, eventually the love would come back. The invitations, the family moments, the gratitude, but it never did. Instead, I was always the guy in the background, the one who could be counted on but never truly seen. Now, that had changed, not because I was angry or vengeful, but because I finally set boundaries, because I finally saw my worth beyond the monthly transfers and paid for streaming subscriptions, because I finally decided I deserved to be part of the family, truly not just their wallet, Jason's apology wasn't the magic fix. The road ahead was still uncertain, and I knew some cracks might never fully heal. But for the first time, I felt a real chance for something different, something healthier. Emma's visit reminded me why family matters. Not the forced gatherings or the Facebook posts, but the little honest moments. A handmade card, a heartfelt apology, a hug that wasn't staged or expected. Those moments showed me that maybe, just maybe, there was a way back to something real. But I also realized that healing doesn't mean forgetting or giving in. It means recognizing when you've been hurt and knowing when it's time to protect yourself, to stop being the safety net for people who don't appreciate it, to stop being the responsible one when responsibility isn't shared, to stop pouring from an empty cup. That night, as I looked at the crown Emma had left behind, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, a quiet hope, not just for forgiveness or reconciliation, but for a family that sees me, values me, and truly includes me, for a love that isn't conditional on my bank balance or willingness to say yes. Because family isn't forever when it's one sided. Family is forever when it's built on respect, care, and mutual support. And while I can't change the past, I can choose my future. So here I am, still figuring it out, still healing, still learning that sometimes the hardest thing to do is say no and walk away from those who don't see your worth, but also knowing that when you do, you make room for something better. And honestly, that feels like the best gift I could give myself. If this story resonated with you or brought up memories of your own family struggles, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Sometimes just talking about it helps us heal. If you found this story meaningful, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next real and relatable Reddit story I share. Remember, family isn't always perfect, and sometimes the toughest but healthiest choice is setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. You're not alone in that journey. Thanks for spending some time here with me today. I truly appreciate your support. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.